Okay, so he was getting all up in her personal space, and there wasn't very loud music playing, so I just kind of knew that this guy was really weird. And he kept bringing drinks back to his girlfriend, um, and it was like always Jack and Coke or whatever. And she started offering it to those really young girls in front of her, and the girls hesitated but took a drink, and I thought that was really disturbing. I was like, ew, like maybe these people are like open relationship or swingers or something, but like they are trying to find someone. So it was like kind of groomy behavior, like, oh, we're good people, like come hang out with us, we're friendly, we're nice, whatever. But you could see like that the girl, almost because she was older, it was almost maternal at the sometimes, but at the other times it was like a bad influence. um and when I was young and I went to shows when I was like 18, 19, sometimes people offered me things that I did not want, and I didn't accept it. So I really feel like in that situation, those girls should have been better about being like, no. And COVID aside, and people's sicknesses aside, and people having herpes on their mouth, you probably shouldn't like share a straw with some random person you just met at a show. Like, you just shouldn't. And so the fact that they were like, oh, I don't know if I should, and then they would, I feel like it was just a like, oh, let's be nice to these people, they've been nice to us. And it's like, you don't have to be nice to anyone. Like, yeah, you should be nice in shows, like that's good etiquette, but if someone shoves a drink in my face or a drug in my face, I don't have to take it. What, is someone gonna force me? Like, so I thought that was a little strange. And then he also was just like incredibly flirty with his girl. And then also because of the you know what, which I had never seen anyone do that in my life, he was super chatty and really annoying. So he did not shut up. Like from that moment on, like an hour into waiting, he didn't shut up, and the show ended up being kind of long. And he just was yelling really loud into everyone's face. You could tell that people were like enjoying the show, singing songs, and he'd be like in their face telling them something. So I was like, dang, this guy's like really annoying. um so I was getting annoyed by him, and I think I told my partner too. I was like, hey, do you want me to switch you spots? Because if this guy messes with me, I will be more than glad to put some boundaries and be like, leave me alone. I don't want to talk to you. Like, go away. And be friendly about it, of course. Like, I've been friendly to people before about boundaries in a show, right? So I just didn't really say much. And then we ended up making friends with some girl behind us. Her name was Brandy, and we were just chit-chatting. And the first show comes on, everything's fine. Second show comes on, they were Spiritual Cramp. And then third show came on, which was who was it? I can't remember, but they were a pretty big band. And again, there was the girls that were in front of us, in this little mini group, were trying to enjoy that band, and this guy would not shut up, and he was all up in their face. It was very apparent that he wasn't there for the music. And I don't know. So he just kept leaving and just doing his thing. And then eventually Movements, the main band, comes on. And this is when like shit really started to hit the fan. But it was almost towards like the last 5 songs. So like I really was testing my patience there, trying to be good and not let things get to me. But I ended up seeing something that really sat really badly with me, and nobody did or said anything about it. So to my left, okay, in front of me there was a more mature couple who looked to be in their 40s. And again, we've mainly stayed by the same people for the whole time. And this couple was starting to also let this bearded guy bother them, but they weren't saying anything. So they were older, and they were pretty still most of the time. They weren't very energetic. Well, the guy wanted to get his wife closer to the center because we were off to the right. So he starts like shoving her, pushing her, telling her to go up there. And there's no room for him. So he told that older couple, like, hey, is it okay if I get in front of you? I just want to be next to my partner or whatever. And then the guy and the girl just nod, and they step back. And you know who they stepped back, whose space they stepped back into? Into mine. So that guy was just like on me at that point. This tall guy that was really quiet. And I didn't say anything. I think I just tried to kind of like scoot back a little bit because I was uncomfortable with when you have someone standing so close to you. You just have a harder time stretching your legs and moving around. So I was like, whatever. And then next to them was this mature Latino lady, okay? She was darker, and she kind of looked like my partner's mom, so we had pointed her out earlier. They're like, hey, that looks like your mom. And we were giggling about it, and she was there with her like 13-year-old daughter, okay? And I have a daughter, and one day I was like, oh man, I could like bring my daughter to shows, that could be us. So like something about it was sentimental and cute. Well, when the guy kind of went in front of them and I got pushed back a little bit. He was just standing there drinking. He didn't want anyone to touch him. He didn't want people to bump him. And he was on his phone and he was yip yapping. And eventually he left and came back and had another drink. But as he was making his way back, because there was this like kind of chubbier girl in front of me, and he said, "Can you save my spot? I'll be right back." And I was like, that's just not like great concert etiquette, especially when like the main line, like headliners come on. You can't just be like, oh, you know, I'll always just come back from wherever I'll leave 10 times in the show and find my spot every time because I'll just tell the people around me. This guy was a manipulator, okay? He was a liar, he was a manipulator, he was playing people. He was thinking like, you're on my side now, right? Because I put my arm on your shoulder because I'm like yelling at you during the show. So like, he just sucked, okay? He leaves, he comes back with his drink, and he's like making his way through a much more packed crowd, and everyone's energetic and jumping around, whatever. So he, before getting to that older, mature Hispanic lady, he pushed some girl really hard out of the way, because some people are more resistant to moving at this point, right? Like, you don't want a whole bunch of people to be just standing in front of you when you've been waiting forever in one spot. And you don't want to just give up your spot easily. You might resist, and sometimes people just move on if you resist. And this guy didn't like that, so he shoved some girl, okay? I didn't see that, though, because it was mostly behind me. But in direct eyesight of mine, in my direct eyesight, that was where the Hispanic lady was. So I see her get yanked so hard that her whole chest caved in, and she like flew back like this, and she like was not ready for it. She was not prepared. She didn't expect it. I think she felt him trying to push to get past, and since she didn't move, that bearded guy grabbed her shoulder or her shirt and yanked her back as hard as he possibly could. She went flying. Again, she was with her daughter, so that must have been incredibly scary. And when she tried to approach him to be like, hey, that wasn't cool, why are you doing that? He just walked away. He did not care about what she had to say. He walked over to his partner and stood there all like puffing his chest out. And this Hispanic guy with curly hair and glasses comes up, and I was like, oh, thank goodness. Like, because I was like, whoa. I was like, what in the hell just happened there? And that was incredibly rude. And of course, who do I see filling the gap? Oh, it's the horrible bearded man that's bothering everyone. And this like Hispanic guy goes up to him. I was like, oh man, is that lady's son? Hopefully he tells him something and, you know, puts him in his place. And he didn't. He just was like, hey man, that wasn't cool. And of course, this manipulator guy with a beard starts saying, oh man, baby, I just need to get my girlfriend. He probably starts saying she's pregnant again. Like just spouting lies and bullshit, right? So he goes over there, and then he starts putting his hand on that guy's shoulder, and they were like, they just wouldn't shut up at that point. So I was like, oh my God. I was like, in a concert setting, like what I really wanted to say in this video is like, in a concert setting, if you see someone being messed up, it's okay to call them out. Nothing's gonna happen to you. You don't need to feel like, oh, I'm so afraid. But it was like collectively, that the fact that nobody really said anything to tell this guy like, you need to stop, like you're bothering a lot of people, that was really, really rude. You could have really hurt this lady. She could have fell. Like, I don't know. You owe this lady an apology, right? Like, just even in a basic principle, like you owe this lady an apology, and he just didn't care. So that guy and him started yip yapping. So I was like, I can't anymore. So like there was some song playing that I didn't know that well, but I was just like stone faced at that moment. I was just like, I couldn't enjoy the show anymore, because I was like, this guy, out of all of those hours that I had been by him, I was like, that was the last straw. And I was extremely disappointed that people around weren't saying anything. And I was like thinking like, maybe I'll like jump when they're jumping next, and I'll like take this guy's spot and see if he tells me something, see if he pushes me around, you know, like I like felt like that. So at that point I was just done. I didn't tell my partner anything, but I was like so done. He actually tapped on my shoulder. He's like, are you okay? Because he could tell that I was just like stony faced, like staring at this man. So then I was like, it's fine. And they started playing a song that was more energetic. It was called I Hope You Choke. So they start playing that song. Everyone's jumping, enjoying themselves. And that guy, like I said, when he shoved that lady because he didn't want anyone to touch him, and when he went in front of us and he had like 2 to 3 feet of space behind him because nobody could touch him, you know, because he's so privileged, he was holding this Jack and Coke and smoking and taking videos and just standing completely still. And so I think that like somebody bumped him. He didn't like that. And I was like, everyone's jumping around. Like, if you get accidentally bumped or your drink spills, oh well, like, you're gonna cry about it. Like, I'm sorry. So somebody bumped him and he turns around and he started pointing at everyone. Like, he had this like crazy look in his eyes. He points at that girl that had saved his spot. Did you do that? And he's like saying something. He like turns to the pretty low-key couple in front of me, like, is it you guys? Like, he was just being crazy. And he points at me. Cause I wasn't that close to him, but he points at me. He's like, "You bumped into me or something." And I was like, I like was singing the song, so I just went like this. I was like, "I hope you choke. I hope you." Like, I just started singing, "I hope you choke" in his face and pointing it back at him, because I was like, "Don't point your fucking finger in my face. Like, what the hell?" And he got so triggered from that. Okay, so out of the whole evening that he was doing whatever he wanted, had free reign of the whole place pretty much, and just using people however he wanted. Now he had pushback. So it really triggered him. And also, I think that this guy is racist, because I was like, okay, your girlfriend is a pretty white passing Hispanic lady. I was like, but I don't think you like Hispanics or brown people. Like, I could just tell. Okay, sometimes you can just tell that. And so when he saw that, I was just like, I don't care. And I started pointing back at him, and he went like this and started to like, ugh. He didn't expect anyone to respond. So then he started yapping. All right, he started yapping. And I was like, okay. I was like, here's my cue. Sticking his finger in my face. And I was like, hey, man. I was like, you've been bothering everyone all night. So why don't you just turn around and shut up? Of course, I'm like swearing up a storm, okay? And he didn't like that I was telling him what to do. I was like, I don't care. I'm like, you're over here telling everyone else what to do, to save your spot, to do this and that, to come with you, to go stand in front, to let your girlfriend in front of him. I'm like, you're telling everyone what to do, and they're listening for some reason. So I was like, I'm going to tell you what to do. I said, turn the F around, go back to your spot, and shut the hell up. And he, like I said, with the whole thing, the drugs, he was yapping so loud. You could hear him. I was wearing earplugs, like the foam ones, so I could barely hear already. And I could hear him through the earplugs and the live music, live rock music. So I was so sick of this guy. I was like, I can't even enjoy the show anymore because you don't shut up. Like, him and that Hispanic guy had started chit-chatting after he shoved this lady. And I was like, I'm not okay with this, so leave me alone. And so I decided that I just started yelling at him, I just started yelling at him. I was so overwhelmed and sick of him at that point. And I was like, turn around and shut up. And nothing was really happening. But, like, of course, his girlfriend turns around when she realizes what was going on. And she, like, tried to, like, put her arm in front of him and to tell him, like stop, and that's, again, like, a respecting. He didn't respect her the whole night, but of course he was going to ruin her show experience by trying to pick a fight with someone that had nothing to do with him, who wasn't going to let that slide, right? So his girlfriend was, like, trying to grab him, and I was like, yeah, come get your man, I was like, get him out of my face. Like, I was so annoyed. And at that point, like, this guy, like, I was kind of, like, backing up into the people behind me, and everybody, like, immediately spread apart. So all of the people that he had manipulated to hold his spot, and that they were his friends, and he was sharing drinks with, and he was butting them and all that stuff, and him grabbing their shoulders, everyone backed the fuck off. Like, nobody cared to give this guy support and show him that he was in the right or anything. They knew that he was in the wrong, and they were more than happy to let me tell him something, but nobody else was jumping in to be like, hey, this guy sucks. So they all just kind of backed off. So there was, like, this circle, and I was, like, getting to the edge of the circle. Like, this guy was freaking me out, okay? And so, I mean, obviously I know how to fight, but I don't want to, right? And I don't like being pushed to that point. So I was, like, backing up, and this guy continued to approach me with a very violent demeanor, wanting to hit me, okay? Like, you could see that his face contorted with rage, and that he was just like, I don't know what he was expecting. He probably was expecting me to hit him first, right? But every time he kept approaching me, I would, like, put my arms out and push him so hard, because I was like, pushing in crowds is valid, right? Like, you're not going to get kicked out of a show for pushing someone unless you're like this guy who's being a total jerk. So I, like, pushed him forward, and he would get pushed back so far, and his girlfriend would grab him, and it was all dramatic, and he would come back again. He would not shut up. He did that a solid 3 or 4 times before I got sick of it, okay? Because I was like, if you're gonna hit me, then I'll like do some stuff to you, I'll make sure that you're on the ground. Like, so if you're gonna do something, do it. But he wasn't doing it, so I was like, okay, I'm done. So he kept coming towards me. I kept shoving him. Then unfortunately, like, I think after the first shove, my boyfriend realized what was going on, and he's like, "Oh my god, what's going on?" And he's like right here next to me, like, "What's going on?" Even this guy kept approaching me really intensely, and my boyfriend actually strong armed him to be like, "Yo, like back off, like what's going on?" Like he was just so confused, and I was like, this guy's trying to pick a fight with me. He just doesn't shut up. He's been annoying everyone. You know, I was just like screaming at the top of my lungs and telling that guy, like, back off, like, leave me alone. And he kept approaching me, so I kept shoving him. And then his girlfriend, who was trying to grab him, I was like, you're about to get lateral damage because you need to let this guy do whatever he's gonna do. But no, she was just like putting her arm around him, trying to get him to stop. And I was like, if I shove you too, like, you guys keep coming in my space like that. So, I shoved him a couple times, but then he kept arguing, and he was just like looking around going like, oh, I didn't do anything. And I was like, I saw how you pushed that lady, and I pointed at her, and of course she's looking and she's like happy, you know, that this is happening. I was like, I saw you push that lady. I was like, I'm not okay with it. I was like, nobody's gonna tell you shit, but I'll tell you shit. So I think I didn't shove him again, but I had my arms up like raging. I was like, you know what? I was like, I'm fucking done with this. So I was like 2 or 3 rows away from the gate, and there was actually an opening in the gate so you could get to the emergency exit and stuff. And there was security there before, but they were like kind of waiting for crowd surfers in the middle, so they did not see that this was going on. They were not alerted to what was going on. The band was not aware what was going on. A fight had broke out earlier, and the band had asked, like, is everyone okay? But like this was going on, and nothing was really, like, nobody was coming. So I was like, I'm going to get security now. I was like, this guy has gone too far. And he also, the reason why I felt like he really triggered me to feel like, oh, you've gone too far, is that he was telling my boyfriend that he was gonna kick his ass. And he totally dehumanized me and made me sound like an object. I have been in concerts where this has happened before with my partner, and I'm not okay with it. So the guy, obviously, we had been around each other for hours. Obviously, that was my partner. He knew that, but he kept asking in order to hurt my feelings, maybe. But he said, is this yours? Is this yours? To my partner. So I was like, I'm not a this. I'm a person. That Hispanic lady that you shoved and nearly broke her clavicle, like, that's a lady, that's a person. There's other girls that you've been shoving around and nobody's told you anything, you know, because it was a girl heavy show, okay? I was like, we're all people. You obviously have a problem with, you're confused, your eyes don't work. I'm a person. You don't need to be, and you don't need to pick a fight with me and then defer to, like, I'm gonna kick your boyfriend's butt. It's like, my boyfriend has nothing to do with this. So that was what really triggered me. So I was like, he was like, is this yours? He kept asking that, like, incessantly. And I was just like, I'm my own person. This guy has nothing to do with it, so leave me alone. Like, I don't know. I was just like screaming. At this point, the adrenaline was spiked so high that I really don't remember much of what I was saying, but it was really upsetting to hear him be like, is this yours? I was like, oh, is your girlfriend an object too? No, like, that's misogynist, you know? I was like, yeah, okay, whatever. Like, I'm done with this. So I walked away. I get out of I was like shoving people out of my way. I was like, get out of my way. I'm going to go get security. Go to the security. And they're like all panicked because I'm like approaching them at this point. And I was like, come here right now. And they come over. And I was like, there's a guy in the crowd shoving everyone, bothering everyone. He does not shut up. I was like, he's been doing drugs. He is messed up. I was like, you guys need to take him now. I was like, you need to get him out of here. And they go over there and they're like looking around, because you know what that guy did? He started acting like he didn't do anything. He started going like this, looking down, shrugging at people. Oh, I didn't do anything. It's like, you were getting all up in my grill hoping that I would hit you, right? Like, people don't go into people's personal space like that with 5 feet of distance unless you want to trigger them to hit you or something. But he was harassing me. I was like, when it comes down to it, he was harassing me. He wouldn't leave me alone. And I told him multiple times, turn around, go to your spot, here's your chance, turn around, leave me alone. Like, you can go and get mad that I don't like you, but I don't have to like you. And the security guard come up and they're like looking like, what's the guy? And I like get up on the barricade. I was like, that guy right there. Like, I was just so mad. And I like point right in his eyeball. I was like, that guy. And so they grab him, and he very dejected puts his head down, his whole shoulder slump, and him and his girlfriend are escorted out. And then I come back in. Adrenaline is still really spiked, so I'm just like, ugh. And everyone was like grabbing my shoulders, tapping, being, are you okay? What happened? And I was like, that guy was just trying to pick a fight with me, and I just wasn't about it. I was like, I wasn't gonna let him treat me like that. And oh, okay. So it was like my short explanation, but obviously there was like a lot of history to the night of why this guy severely disturbed me. And I went and stood there was like a different group of people in front of us that had mostly dispersed, but I stood in the same spot for the most part. We ended up going into the mosh pit and having fun. But about 5 minutes later, when my heart rate actually went down again from the suspense of having this guy trying to approach me and fight me, it finally relaxed and I was able to like get back into the show, you know, because it was like really hard to enjoy the show at that point. But I look over and they escorted him back in with his girlfriend to go stand almost in the same spot that they were in, really close to the barrier. But I think that they told them, I mean, in my head, I was like, man, that guy is such a huge manipulator. He probably just cried wolf, said that his girlfriend was pregnant and all this crap, and that he didn't do anything. He never bothered anyone, that he was just the nicest man. So they let him back in somehow, which boggled my mind. Because I was like, okay, if you had let him in and didn't send him back to where we were, I wouldn't have known. But that just pissed me off more. I was just like, come on, security. I was like, I was completely 100% sober, no alcohol in my breath, telling you the truth, and you're gonna take this guy's word for it, and that guy was all messed up. I was like, whatever. So I guess the guy stood next to my partner, and I was like, I was already getting like my claws out, because I was like, don't touch my partner again, like don't mess with us, like you're over here saying you were gonna beat my boyfriend's butt, you're gonna punch him in the face and all these things. I was like, you threatened my boyfriend. I was like, that was enough. Like, you threatened me, you threatened my boyfriend, like you need to get away from us. And I knew that he was probably gonna be like, sorry, but he didn't mean, like, I don't know. So I just didn't even want to hear it. So I think I told my boyfriend, like, should we move? And then we ended up moving because of that. Went closer to the mosh pit, and then we had a better time for the last 2 songs, and then we left. And afterwards, you know, I felt a little freaked out. I felt like, what if this guy's waiting outside the venue and he still wants to kick my butt? Like, what if he's trying to kick my boyfriend's butt? Like, I just don't want any problems. So I kind of just resolved, like, oh, I'll just ask security if they'll walk us out to the parking lot if we see this guy. But we didn't end up seeing the guy and his girlfriend anymore, thank goodness. But all this to say, misogynist people are out there. Misogynist people go to shows that they have no interest in seeing just because they want to bother people, because they want to create a threesome with their partner and they're looking for vulnerable people. I don't know. But at the end of the day, if you see someone do something wrong, and like, people just have to be more aware of manipulation in our society, right? Like, if you see a guy that's been very privileged, like if you're observant and someone's being very privileged and being really awful, you just don't have to be nice to that person. You can call people out just as much as they can call me out if I was doing something messed up, right? Like, that's equality. That's equality. That's true equality. To just say, you know, you don't get to do whatever you want. You go into a public setting where you have to be this close to others, like, you have to have some manners. You have to have some logic. Like, you have to be logical. And that guy was completely past that point. It was honestly a little bit sad that he had to ruin that experience for his girlfriend, who obviously seemed like the bigger Movements fan, but I don't care. I think what he did to that lady was horrible. I think what he was doing most of the night was horrible. I know that I don't go to shows to be a protector of everyone and to be making dramas. I'm not. And I go to most shows and everything's fine. But at the end of the day, that guy was old enough to know better, had probably been to enough concerts to know better, and nobody had challenged him, right? Especially not a brown person. But you can always tell how someone really feels about brown people when a brown person challenges you, and then how they react. So it was very eye-opening to see that. I still enjoyed the show for the most part, and I don't know, I think in the future I might not get general admission to see some shows, because maybe I should just enjoy myself by sitting down and enjoying the show. But and the last thing I'm going to say is that I really hope that me actually pressing that guy and challenging him, I hope that ruined his high. I hope that ruined his night. I hope that he's having a horrible day, really. Anyways, bye.